Let's do a debugging lesson. This is student code. The student has written a name method, which takes words, which appears to be, it looks like it's a list of lines, not words. So we should probably call this lines. But I presume what this is supposed to do is it's supposed to loop over the lines, extract the names into an array list of names. But when we run it, we get an empty list here, and the student wants to know why. So I don't know why. I haven't looked at it yet, but I want to illustrate the debugging process. So let's go to the name method here. It looks like what we're doing is we're starting on a particular line of code. We are, sorry, not line of code. We're starting on a particular line of the file. So here's sample. So we're starting on like this line, for example. And then we're, I think he's trying to visit each name line by skipping over some. So let's go back to main. Oops, that's mine. Let's go back to made. So we're starting on a line, we're skipping lines, and then we've got this method extract name where it seems like we're giving it a particular line. And it seems like this method is intended to extract just the name from the line by finding where the colon is and returning everything that goes up to the colon. Okay, so here's the debugging lesson. If we're not getting the output we want, we need to go backwards in the process, and we should have some expectation of what we expect the code to be doing. We expect the lines to look like something particular, and we expect the output from this method to look like something particular. So we want to see what it is. So an easy thing to do would be, let's just check the lines that we're trying to extract names from. So sout words I, and we'll just run this. So you can do this with print statements if you want, or I'll show you how to use the debugger in a separate video. So I'm running the code. Okay, that's unexpected. Right away, I'm noticing that it actually hasn't displayed anything at all. So what that tells me is that this line of code isn't actually running. So now I'm wondering, does this line of code even run? So I'm going to add a print statement, starting to extract names. So let's run it again. So you'll notice what I'm doing is I'm trying to figure out what the code's doing, because I have an expectation of what I should be seeing, but I wasn't seeing it. So here it says starting to extract names, but yet it never prints words I. So what that tells me is that maybe it's not even going into the for loop. So now I'm thinking, why would it not go into the for loop? And the only logical reason is if words is too short. So here's what I want to do. I want to print out the length of words. So words.length. And we'll see what that is. And I'm suspecting words.length is going to be something very short, which it shouldn't be, but now we're starting to find the source of the bug. Okay, so words.length is size 1. So now we're really on to something. We know that the reason it's not extracting names is because I'm not passing in the right inputs. So I'm going to remove this print statement, but I'll leave the others in there. So now let's go and see where we're running names from. So name is running from up here. So I'm giving it words. Words comes from up here where I'm splitting stripped on new line. So what's stripped? Oh. So stripped. So let's look at what stripped is. You probably can guess what stripped is. So here's what stripped is. You'll notice that it definitely looks like the transcript file, except it seems to all be on one giant line, and you notice that there's no punctuation. Here's what the actual transcript looks like, but I'm missing a lot of this stuff. I'm missing a lot of the numbers, it seems like, and I'm missing the new lines. And the reason why is because in our last project, we wanted to remove everything that wasn't letters or space, but that includes new line characters. So we don't want to do that in this project. So I think we found the source of at least one of the bugs. We just don't want to strip out those characters. So I think the naming here could use a lot of improvement. So file isn't really what this is. We could call this like data maybe. And then we'll split the data on new line, and that's okay. But they're not really words. Those are really lines. And I think it's a good idea to always have, how do I refactor this? Hold on. I always forget how to refactor. Okay, well, whatever. It's always a good idea to have these named for what they actually represent. Okay, so let's try it again. All right, so now we're getting a whole other range of problems. So here's the, remember this print statement prints the length of my list, and that's about right. 1200 is about right for words.length. But here we're running into a new problem. I'm printing the line I'm supposed to be extracting the name from, but this is not a line that contains a name. So what that tells me is something about my for loop. I'm looping over the incorrect lines. So anyway, that's enough debugging for now, but I hope I've illustrated the method that you have to dig in to what your code is actually doing on the actual variables to try and figure out, like, does it fit your expectation of what it's supposed to be operating on? If you'd like, come back in the next video, which should be a lot shorter, and I'll show you how to do the same thing with the debugger.